was born and raised in Philadelphia, and then I moved to a town called Willingboro, New Jersey, which was probably about 35 minutes outside of Philadelphia. 45 minutes sometimes with traffic. Real close. You can always go back and forth. But I started out in Philadelphia, but that's not where things took off at all.
Okay.
Ironically, Wanya Morris of Boyz II Men, who was born in Philadelphia, moved to Willingboro, New Jersey.
Oh.
One day, I'm watching BET, right? Michael Bivins he's doing an interview. And he says something to Donnie Simpson about my guys. He says another bad creation out of Atlanta, GA. And he says, and my guys, he named them, and he said, Boyz II Men out of Philly. And I'm thinking, is that I didn't know if that was a clique, a gang, or a group, or whatever. I'm like, but that's, they named themselves after the song. I'm not thinking nothing of it. Fast forward up, Boyz II Men was in a Black Beat magazine, a real small article, very small article. And they didn't have the bow ties, the cardigan sweaters, none of that swag. They had regular R&B outfits, but they had these African walking sticks. Oh. It was Motown Christmas in Jamaica. So Chinese, everybody on the label was there, but they just had this little black and white picture of Boyz II Men. And I'm looking like, this dude that just appeared in school one day, and I'm like, that can't be him. And then Michael Bivins brings them on BET. He brings another bad creation out, and then he brings them on Boyz II Men. And I'm like, I knew it. So I'm walking down the hall the next day, and Lord knows I don't know when they taped Video Soul or whatever, but I'm walking down the hall next day, and I hold this little article up next to him. I was like, man, I knew that was you. And he's just like, yo, oh my God, can I have this? I'm like, yeah, sure. He wanted the magazine. He didn't even know they was in it. I was like, wow, but that was like the first little write-up thing. So what would happen is every day we would sit outside of that class and talk music nonstop. When they was ready to do, and I always had a camera. Either I was doing television production.
In high school?
Yeah, man, we had a television studio in high school, man. I'm so thankful for that place. Listen, they gave me a place just to explore any realms of creativity. Like, by the time I became a senior, I only had to go to like 4 or 5 classes, and literally I could just stay in the television studio the whole day. So we had open range on everything. We shoot music videos, did TV. I remember interviewing Carl Lewis, was the Olympic star.
Yeah.
Won like 11 gold medals or something like that. He won 4 and 3 and so whatever. He went to he was an alumnus or whatever. So he comes back to school to do something. They come get me out of class, and I go, interview him. It was like I said, I was the guy, from 89, 90 to 91 for everything. And I used to work the stage lights in the theater.
Okay.
Yeah, they used to pay me well for that too, man. Think about it, 16, 17 years, I'm turning in invoices. They pay me $27, $30 an hour to do this.
Wow.
Yeah, man, it was fun. I used to hire my friends, like, I'm gonna give you $4.50. You worked it.
But how did you get into all this stuff though?
Listen, I always loved music, always loved, entertainment, always loved music. I was a big fan of the Jacksons. I always say just the Jacksons because that's where it started.
Yeah.
When you look at seeing the Jackson 5 cartoon, and I just remember those album covers, getting mesmerized by the album covers. And I remember the one when they did the first album, the Jacksons, where they was in Philly with Gamble and Huff, and they had the afros connected them. And when they came to Philly as the Jacksons, not the Jackson 5. And I remember flipping open the album and reading, and I'm 3, 4 years old. And I would sit there with the Electric Factory in Sesame Street, and they would do these little sounding out things like, bah, at, fat, So I'd be sitting there, Jack, sons, and I would read and read. Now, of course, I didn't understand what an engineer was or mixed by, what that meant or anything, but I could read it. And I would take the album covers to school and for show and tell, and they would be like, oh, he's going to sing. And I'd flip it open and start reading. They'd be like, what the heck is he doing reading, And, of course, I didn't even know what the heck I was reading or what it meant. But later on in life, I would meet Gamble, fonts myself. I would meet all these people that I would read in the back of these album covers, and I would tell them like, "Yo, I learned how to read. Read your credits.
Okay. But then, so you mean at a young age, I mean, most people at a young age is either they're playing sports or they're into music and stuff. But from your point, did you ever try to become a singer or producer?
I couldn't sing. I was very I'm a Gemini, so we very like night and day, off and on.
Okay.
Like look, Nate from Boyz II Men, we born on the same day. Paul McCartney's also born on that day. Fantastic writers. I could write, but I was not a singer, not a performer. I could dance a little bit, and I had dance groups. I had dance groups in high school. We used to do, new edition routines, troop, and yeah, I was the guy who basically put all this stuff up on his wall and ended up working for everybody on his wall or in some capacity.
Okay.
Yeah, but basically where everybody said, oh, this is a hobby, I just kept going with it,
Okay. So in high school, you got the Black Beats, you Connor, Wanya, and then, I mean, he's already in Boyz II Men, but why did he leave Philly to
because he was it was a situation where they had to keep him alive. They want him to get in no trouble. You don't want to be on the verge of greatness and then you come home in a project, something crazy happens. So to keep him safe, his father lived out there. So,
Okay.
Yep.
And so
shout out to his sister Dorothy, his sister Dorothy. But yeah, we hit it off, man. And I always walked around. Listen, I had kente cloth and the beads.
yeah.
I was, I was Mr. X Clan, and he would always see that, whatever. And and because like I said, if you look at their first 12-inch, they got the big sheepskin jackets on, and they still got those African walking sticks and everything. And then but I always had a camera. I was always doing something. And he said, yo man, you need to come down to this video shoot. I'm like, really? And I remember I had like two of my friends with me. We went down, we cut school. Well, I didn't cut school. Everybody went down with me, cut school. I didn't cut school because I was too in good with the authorities at the school and everything like that. So when I had a letter signed from the directors and the producers,
Wow,
stating that that's where I was. Yeah. I just handed it to them. Hey, sign this real quick. They ain't know what the heck they were signing. Get out of the Yeah, I was covered. A lot of people, they suffered when we got back, but it was a hell of an event. So I go down to this video shoot, and we get down there first. We see Sean, Mike, and Nate, and Charlie Mack from Will Smith.
Yeah. Yes, big,
and we see them down there, and we like, oh snap, we talking. So I got my my Motown Philly 12-inch, and they all signed it. But Wanya had already signed it, but Wanya didn't just sign it. Wanya wrote like a paragraph, and he wrote it. We fooled, so we did it. He did it in ink, but he pressed so hard that if you was to put a piece of paper over it and scribble, you could see what he wrote. But it was kind of touching what he wrote. And I just remember, at times in life, or sometimes when I feel bad or feel down, I would take that out of the frame and scratch over it and just read it, and it would like, lift me, pick me back up. But I used that 12-inch cover, them signatures, like a golden pass around Philadelphia.
In what way?
I would go to a concert I didn't have tickets for and be like, talk to security people and be like, yeah, look, I'm good friends with Boyz II Men. Look. And they would read what Wanya wrote and be like, just go in this way. Don't get no trouble,
Oh, what did he write?
Well, he basically wrote like, hey, he's like, look, man, thank you so much, man. And it's inspiring how you feel about your culture and your heritage, and don't ever change and don't lose that. And I know you're going to do this and this, that, and the other. It was really touching, but this 2 17-year-olds, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, he did that, man. And I never forgot it. And then I remember we went down to the video shoot, right? They did the first scene was they're riding in this black Mercedes that some white guy dropped off, because you and kids, you think everybody owns everything.
Yeah.
So they're like Jet Black Brands, Penny of Friends, and all the Philly station needs. So they do this little shot with the crane on South Street, and they in the little black vans. And it's early, nobody's out yet, and they come back around and they're just like, on to the next scene. And we're like, what? Huh? That's it? So we're like, damn, like, how are we gonna get to the next scene? And everybody looked at me and said, Troy, you better do something. So I'm like, oh. Boyz II Men already went off in a Winnebago or whatever. And I walked over I talked to Khalil Roundtree, and that's if you might remember him, God peace be upon him. He was the guy from Mr. Telephone Man, with the telephone head with the big beard.
Wow, okay.
And he's in the New Edition story. Khalil, you know, he's the road manager, New Edition.
Yeah.
He was Boyz II Men's road manager. So I went over and said something to him. He just looked at me, and I was basically making small talk so that I could be seen talking to him, right? And he was impressed kind of that I knew his name. I made a little corny joke. He laughed. I patted him on his shoulder. Was like, ha, ha, ha. Went over to the guy in the other Winnebago. I said, yeah, Khalil, your Boyz II Men road manager, he said he wanted us three to ride over to the next set. He said, who? I said, Boyz II Men road manager. I said, hey, what? And I yelled across the street, Khalil. And I held up my thumb, and he put his thumb up like, hey, hey. I said, see? He was like, yeah. So listen, instead of us being cool, as soon as we leave the block, make a couple turns, what do? We in the back of the Winnebago taking pictures like idiots, you know. So we get off, and they pull into this lot over by the School of Performing Arts in Philly. And we get out, and I see another bad creation step out of a Winnebago. Everybody's screaming. And then we step out, and everybody's like, who are they? You know? I think somebody threw some trash at us, like, hey, wait, hold up. You know. And then we walk to the next Winnebago, and I see Michael Bivins get out of there, and I just stared at him like, oh, snap. It's just got real. Wow. You know, Michael Bivins from New Edition, you know, it be BBD. I'm like, whoa, you know. And I remember, you know, he came out, I didn't even say anything to him. I just stared at him. You know what I mean? Just looked at him like, oh, snap. Wow. You know, like, I can't believe this. I'm like, oh, man, this is amazing. Then I look over and I see Ronnie in the thing, and I just was like, he seemed very much, you know, Mike had a serious look on his face, but Ronnie seemed more like, hey, you know, calm. Say, hey, Ronnie, man, nice to meet you. So I had my When Will I See You Smile Again 12 minutes, and he signed it for me. Little did I know Ricky was sitting right, you know, you can see Ricky's feet hanging down, but he didn't sign it, but, you know, he signed it for me. And he put, you know, 91 on it, you know, and I eventually got all this stuff signed by them later, you know, but it was just like I said, for me, I was like, you know, I couldn't believe it. So I met another bad creation that day, and they were all, you know, little kids. I'm still cool with them to this day, man.
Wow. Yeah. Well, if they're doing anything, we need to get them on the show. But
yeah, you always see me every time I'm in Atlanta. I'm always with me and Chris. We always find each other, man. We always hang out.
So,
but like I said,
yeah, go ahead.
You know, as like I said, he was a kid, but like I said, he never changed, man. He never changed, and I appreciated that and I respected that. And then like I said, so I'm just was out there, man, taking pictures, having a grand old time, man. I went back, I couldn't believe it. And then you know, later on, I would go to I think Boyz II Men's first performance after the single came out. We were in this place not there anymore. It's called the Civic Center in Philadelphia. It was a big show. Boyz II Men performed, another Bad Creation performed. I think Michael Bivins came out and did the little parts that he did with on the songs. But it was like it was Christopher Williams was there. I'll Be Sure was one of the hosts. It was like Tracy Spencer. Wow. It was like a whole bunch of people there. But you know, that was Boyz II Men's big coming out night in Philadelphia, and it was just an amazing time. And then after that, Juan had started. You know, he would be in school, did not be in school. You know, because they were going to Virginia constantly, working with Brooke Payne on their choreography and stuff, trying to get them ready.
Okay.
And we would go back and forth, and they'd be finishing stuff up on the album. And man, I remember when it dropped, you know, like I said, I would be the guy carrying stuff on a little promo tour. You know, I would do stuff like that.
Oh, so how did you already start to work with them? Or
Yeah. So I started with them, and what happened was when it was time for me to go to college, I did this this girl I used to work with. She had this connection with MTV, so we would do like remote stuff for MTV. Like I would assemble a camera crew, me and my friend Susan Wiles, and we would go to DC sometimes, we, you know, or in Philly if something was going on, and we would do that stuff. So, you know, I was like slowly but surely just building my credits up, but I couldn't, you know, with the money that was spent with me trying to get in school and stuff like that, I couldn't say I'm just going to run this way and do that. Because it wasn't not long after that, God rest his soul, Khalil, you know, he was murdered in Chicago. So, you know, it's a lot of situations throughout life where things like that had happened, and thank God I wasn't around, or, you know, but, you know, I maintained a relationship with Wanya and Mike Bass McCary from Boyz II Men, and and just throughout the years and maintained. So it's always like a 360 moment every time I meet him. Like I always sometimes get like emotional every time I run into him, every time.
Thanks for watching. Please remember to subscribe to the channel, but most importantly to press the notification bell so that you can be notified when we do have a new interview. Loads to come, but thanks a lot for watching.
You know.